Looking at this from a broader view, to talk about or to think about what the thinking of government is, what the philosophy, because for every policy any administration or any state comes up with, there is a philosophy behind it. If we pursue this course, if we stay on this course, it's going to affect this and this. And so we look at every developed nation in this world, and when it comes to power, when it comes to energy, the state knows that investment in this boosts, just like you said, production, for instance. And you've lived around the world, and when you look at countries, even countries that really take seriously taxation, like the UK, it comes to energy. They know if you leave this strictly to the forces of demand and supply, people are going to die in winter. And so some kind of subsidy goes into all of these things, even though they are very serious with taxation. But then when you look at the arguments of this administration since May 29th, it has always been, we're going to take off subsidy from fuel. And then they'll tell you, if we take off subsidy from fuel, we're going to save so amount of trillion. Now it has also come to electricity, and they're also saying the same thing. If we take off this, we're going to save this amount of trillion. But then today we read in the papers, I think it was the Guardian newspaper this morning, that talked about manufacturers feeling the crunch and losing as much as 290 billion or thereabout for power. This just tells you in Q1 alone, and goes on and on. And then I think it was the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, yes, man, that was it last month or so, told us, I think it was up to 300 and something manufacturing firms in Nigeria having shut down, all because of the crunch of all of this. Now the question I want to ask is, how do we really talk to the system we run in Nigeria, where on the one hand it seems as though government is somewhere thinking, talking, pushing policies, while on the other hand not looking at what the people are saying, how it is affecting production, for instance, how it is affecting the everyday, how do we run the system? What is really responsible for running this kind of a system that seems to have so many disconnects?
Because we have porous system. It's not a place where you can say, when you do this will happen.
Okay.
Yes, you want when you put water in a basket,
yeah,
that's probably that's meant to present, to contain the water, but it will all fizzle out. So the system is safe. It's such that policies, no matter how well intended, will eventually, along the line, even not at the starting point, get derailed. You talked about fuel subsidy. Okay, all this while the money that has been saved from removal, the so-called removal.
Yeah.
Who has accounted for it? NNPC is not accountable. Nobody has said we are able to make this X amount of money, and we put this here. This is the area, and this is so there's no accountability. There's nothing to show. If we are to be in other places where these things work, and they're saying if people pay taxes and you see the taxes working, you see the taxes, what they use the tax money to do, to develop, and you see them, people enjoy it. People see them. Nobody raise any eyebrows when asked to pay any tax, or even when they're asked to pay more than they used to pay. No, because they see these things work for them. But here, you remember when we talked about, some years back, we talked about the toll gates, which erected all over Nigeria.
Yeah.
And we were told that the toll gates, the money that we made from there will be used to, within 3 or 4 years, everything crumbled. It became an avenue for people to enrich themselves. A lot of scandal that came out from that.
Yeah.
And that was discarded. So now tell me, and other things. So the policy is not about the policy, but it's about the system that cannot sustain or that cannot see through any good policy. Why is this so? Because we tend to mix. A policy direction must be such if you go to work, must be such that should be able to pull through without any destructive incident. But when it is not, all these guardrails, all these are not in place.
Yeah.
You make a policy. People do whatever they want along the line. People sabotage it. People, because of personal aggrandizement, make sure it doesn't work. What works is for what works for them alone. But the policy is meant to work for the entire Nigerians. So, So at the end of the day, the policy will amount to nothing. There is a commitment. There is a level of commitment, level of integrity that should drive any policy. Level of system accuracy that should be in the system that should drive it. If those things are not available, there's no policy. It's not going to work. And that is what we experience in this part of the world. That is why people get agitated. Because previously, we've not seen any of these things work. The policy on paper, the matter on paper will be so excellent. But when you implement, then at the end of the day, what will come out is not what actually what was bargained for. So then you have to ask yourself, why is it so? The problem is that our system is not meant to function effectively. A lot of viruses that tends to attack, to destroy whatever good policy that we turn out. So that is why, first of all, we need to get to the foundation, get the system right, build strong institutions, make everybody accountable for, for what he or she does in government positions, in any position of power. Then when we do this, we will be able to begin to see, after all, electricity, during the Messenger regime, it's not power. They said about how many billion was invested in the power sector. So the National Assembly had to even undertake a probe. Remember the probe? True. So what has come out of it? They said about so many billion was invested. Have we seen? Is it not worse today as we used to have it in 2015 or 14 or 2007? So what improvement have we been able to bring to the system? Nothing. Rather, what we have, gradual deterioration of the system, in spite of all those attempts to improve. We haven't seen any improvement. So our system our laws should work. People should be able to work according to the law. Whenever there is any misbehavior, the law should take its course. There should be steps that will make people pay for their sabotage, for their actions or inactions that tends to derail any national project. But that doesn't happen
in Nigeria.
People just, so if it doesn't happen, what is the guarantee that in this one now
it's going to work?
You have to set the ball in motion before you begin to turn out. Otherwise, the end product of it is failure. Waste of resources, making life more difficult for the people. Worsening the economic situation of Nigerians. So at the end of the day, nothing will come out of it. At the end of the day, nobody will be held accountable. So that is the main issue that undermines any policy that we put in place. Because at times, most of these policies are meant to actually, in fact, bring some circle to develop the system, to improve the system. But on paper, it needs to be practicalized. It needs to be done such a way that the people will see the effect. The people will see and appreciate the effect. That is the only reason why next time they are told about it, they will also cooperate.
They're going to be that
they will never cooperate because they have not seen it work for the first time.
Now, how do we, because a very interesting one coming in about the Nigerian banks. I don't know what you think about that. But before just to wrap this up in 2 minutes, the NLC has called for groups like the CSOs, student unions, market women and all of that to come out to join. I'm looking at a cultural thing. Do you think we are going to see that kind of a mobilization? I'm talking about a cultural thing now, because for every system you really explained how systems should work and how policies should really be devoid of any manipulation within the system. But then one thing with systems also is systems not held accountable over time, all over the world. Systems not held accountable have always derailed. So do you have faith that Nigerians are going to rise up to this call and try to hold neck to play by its rules?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think I'm so confident that they have the energy, the level of awareness to be able to drive this through. Because people are over here now, people are now beginning to see the dominant feelings that people are now sees anything that happens. I mean, the thing they don't have much to change. They're not part of it. It's the government. What can they do to change? What can they do to bring about? People think people are laid back. So I don't think that this call will sufficiently energize those people, but to be able to rise up to the occasion, to force in other climes, when citizens, by mass action, by mass demonstration, demonstrating that they are not in support of this, government do reverse some of these policies. But Nigerian system, they know that these people, about 2 or 3, one week, then they will now begin to put something in the news media to force these people to mellow down, call them for one meeting or the other, and things will begin to fizzle out, and they will do what they want to do. We've seen it before now. I mean, so I really don't think. I just hope. I'm not right, but because I would want things to work.
To work,
But from my understanding
of the system,
of how the system works, I don't think that the NLC and some other people, the NANS. I mean, have you heard of NANS and all these people? In those days, NANS used to be a very powerful.
I'm personally very ashamed
but
of what NANS has turned out.
Today's NANS is about people who want to be like governors.
That's exactly how they roll.
Who move with escorts, who want to dine and wine
with powers that be.
That is their interest. So how focused will they be to be able to engage in any meaningful thing that will bring about better life for the people? I don't think NANS is capable of enacting such a feat. Likewise, others like NANS. So in the 70s, the 80s, NANS is a very powerful, even more powerful than the NLC.
More powerful than the NLC?
Now it's a very vocal, powerful means of challenging. They have done use of Chugbo, who are many people like that. But today's NANS are, what you see, young men who want to drive, move convoys.
Honestly, I will say this because I bleed when it happens. I see people who have, on the scale of 1 to 100 or 0 to 100, I see people who do not have 2% of the basic makeup of somebody who should be a union, who should be aspiring and even becoming union leaders. I see people who come to meet me and they tell me, you were in this school, you were in this school, and they want to go into NAN, they want to SUG, and all of that. And you look at this person does not have 1% hunger for what really should make up. But then that's on that conversation we should have some other day. All right, let's talk about the Nigerian banks. I really don't know what you make of this information in the papers today, that within a span of 5 years, within a span of 5 years, that insider trading, you can still call it insider trading, but then 549 billion naira in insider loans within our the banking system. Now, why I ask you this question is this. I just want you to look at the backdrop, and this is how I think about it. Now, secondary school economics, we are told that one of the functions of the banks is to redistribute wealth. And so people like me, earning the little money we earn, when we contribute all of this small money and drop them in the banks, then the banks have enough money to loan out to entrepreneurs who want to create employment. And when these entrepreneurs create this employment, then people like us too will then get more little jobs that we can do. I'm talking about secondary school economics now. Secondary school economics, the CBN too. One of the functions of the CBN is to regulate these banks to make sure they are playing by whatever rules has been set for the banks and, you know, the system to flourish, right? So here we are in Nigeria. On the one hand, getting loans is like passing through the camel, passing through the eye of a needle. On the other hand, you find the manufacturing sector, you find business, you find all of these things crumbling, you find the economy. But now we look at the banks declaring all of the profits they are declaring. I get somebody send me 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira and my account balance is less than what I said, you know, and all of that. Now we are getting this information that while all this is happening in the country, these guys are helping themselves to this. What do you make? What do you make of this information?
It's not different from what we've been saying. The general malice that is destroying our system.
Yeah.
Either in the banking sector, either in the justice delivery, either in the area of electricity supply, distribution, transmission or generation. There's nothing. It's part of the. There's no sector that you mentioned. It is being said. I heard it some time ago that if you want to get rich quick, you start a bank. You know, and bank has failed the way banks fail in this country. You know, banks that just operated about 5-10 years and they failed. Insiders abuse. People can't go start a bank. They issued license. They now dip their hands into depositors' funds to begin to fund their fantasy, their private lives, build, travel abroad, buy estates with private depositors' funds. What do they invest in? And CBN is supposed to actually regulate and supervise those banks. And nothing will happen until things accumulate like this. 500 and something, how many billion insiders loan. They just get themselves together, begin to offer loan to themselves to sponsor their extravagant lifestyle. Why this should be part of the system that should be regenerating the economy, you know, giving loans to small scale people, sustaining for them to be able to grow and develop the system and employ more Nigerians. It's not happening. Banks still, at the end of the day, they still declare humongous profit. Banks are trading on foreign trading. Get to selling to black market to buy. Yeah. If you go to the bank, you won't find. In those days when we were growing up, you want to get new fund, money made.
Yes, the bank, you go to the banks. Yeah.
But today you get it on the street,
and not in the banks anymore.
It doesn't. I mean, is that not enough to arouse our curiosity? When we are growing up, anytime you need mint money, then go to the bank, write your check to. They'll give mint money. But today, where you have the worst of the currency is in the banks.
It's in the banks.
Then they mint
on the street.
So they will supply these mints to the banks. They will mop it up, sell or give to the agents outside to sell. You know. So that is what they do, and nobody is checking anybody. And this is against the CBN Act. Who is enforcing this? Why is enforcing this? And it's not happening. So why wouldn't you have this kind of thing? Many banks had failed in the past due to insiders abuse. You know, what is insider abuse? When people now deposit their money in the bank, those who manage the bank, the rest of the bank will now use the money to fund their lifestyle. At the end of the day, those loans will never be repaid. They see it as their own dividend of involvement in that banking system.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we said the bank has
folded.
Will fold, and people who put money in that place will begin to cry in the before we begin some even commit suicide. And it just go. Many bank has gone like that, and I know you are aware of that.
True.
So why would that even happen? Why would we wait till it get inside the abyss to the level of 549 billion naira, which is far more than the budget of many states in Nigeria.
True.
Far more than the budget of many states.
True.
In Nigeria. So why would that happen? So why would it? So you see, we operate a system that tends to encourage impunity. Because look at those insiders abuse. People are involved now. Who are those involved in that insiders abuse? Have they been questioned? Has any arrest been made? You understand what I mean? Yeah. Who are the MDs of those banks that allow this to happen in their banks? And the depositors are suffering. At times you get to the bank, you have your money in bank, you will want, then they will say there's no fund. That's happened. This is happening. At the time I had my money in bank, I said, look, foreign domiciliary account. I said, please, I need some. They tell me they don't have dollars. But this is money I brought to the bank and deposited in the bank. So why will you not tell me when I want to take my money that you don't have it? Where is the money? It's not hard enough now, but it's happening. That is the height of breach of trust. Yeah. Nobody deposits money. The other day I was trying to engage a POS person. Said, look, the bank don't give them. They only give them. They said there's no money. There's no money inside the system, the banking system, but there's money in their private accounts, in their pockets. Where they get that money from? So these are the things that the laws are there. Yeah. You have the Bank and other financial institutions Act, have the CBN Act, and the laws are there to guard against this. But are we applying the laws to this sort of situation? Are people paying? Are they paying for their misdeeds? Are they paying for their irresponsibility? Are the regulators actually regulating? Or are they in cahoots with these people to cheat people out of their resources? The next thing you hear is some of these banks will go under, and people will begin to run helter-skelter to recover their initial resources, the money. The way banks charge, the way at times you make transfer, the money will not go. They will debit you. At times you will even lose count. A lot of things going on in the system. So so we need to really come to terms. Or unless we do things right, certain things will not work. It takes effort. It takes commitment for things to work the way they do. But if you don't bring in this effort, this commitment, some of these things, it's not going to work. And it's not like there's no magic. We must be able to properly regulate the system, to properly see that our laws, are respected. If anybody goes contrary to the laws, the person should immediately, because as a matter of fact, if at the initial stage, people begin to engage in this insiders abuse, by the time 1 or 2 persons take those loans and they are arrested, it will stop now. To be nipped in the bud at that stage. But by the time the system it's not actually asking them some questions. Other people will be encouraged, and by the time you know it, it will get to a proportion where it will be difficult to save the situation, and the people will be the worst for it. The people will be. At the end of the day, those people will scamper, run away, and probably CSCC will drag 1 or 2 or 3 of them. About 3 or 4 years, everything. Okay, most of those when Sanusi became the CBN.
Yes, when true.
All those banking chiefs. Did you hear anything again?
It's fizzled away.
It's fizzled away. About what happened? Are we hearing about anything again? At the end of the day, they said what the best we had was that there was what they call this?
Plea bargain.
Plea bargain. And people were giving part of the loot and then sort of, okay. Is that how a system should work?
And the amount for the plea bargain was too
short. So now, it's not better. Okay, you go and still 500 billion. I plea bargain, you give them 200. You take 200, you take 300 or something. So that's the kind of legal system that people are foisting on the system that's supposed to be working. That's the kind of legal system that people are trying to make part of our everyday life. So why do we really expect progress in the kind of system? You know, in all facets of our. The other day we talked about a lot of things happening on the political scene. The same thing, the same virus is everywhere.
Now let's do this in 2 minutes before we move to the last conversation for today. Let's do this in 2 minutes of talking about, because the first conversation we had today was talking about the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. And when you look at what the announcement they came up with on April the 3rd, announcing the tariff hike, they failed to follow the law setting them up, which says before they do a thing like this, there should be some consultation with stakeholders. Stakeholders includes NLC, the TUC, our representatives, manufacturers and all of that. There should be this stakeholder meeting where the discos should be the ones who first of all say, okay, we want to. And then this stakeholder meeting is to call every stakeholder and then look at the reasonability of this. They did not follow this. Then we come to the banks too. And we look at all of the kind of regulation and give the small ones, because when we're talking about the banks, we are looking at corporate governance. And money is money. And one does not even need to attend primary school to know that the basic grain that should be in the blood of anyone who should be allowed to play any major role in the banks is honesty, trust, transparency. Because you're not only dealing with with this amount of money that is tempting even to angels, but you're also in the custody of people's sensitive information. Now, if we have people who are operating at this level, not being able to enforce some little rules, like ensure that the mints are in the banks. I mean, if you want to know how dishonest somebody is, it is in very little things. Now, if you just give an example of going in and you put this money in the bank, and then when you want it, I recall an experience we had once when somebody sent in money from the UK, so it was in pounds. And then it was supposed to be received that way and then changed because of the differential, right? And then the bank said, no, they don't pay out in pounds. And he asked a question I will not forget. And he said, if you have the capacity to receive foreign currency, you have the capacity to dispense that foreign currency. And they said, but it wasn't much money. And so at the end of the day, so they did their calculation and they paid back. So if you have our institutions not having the capacity to obey very simple rules, where does one? Because you can't talk about solution without placing understanding what really is the I don't want to ask what really is the problem. Simple rules. Do this and this and this. It's just like the simple rules of saying, oh, okay, you want to have a program by 7, you should be here 10 minutes before. Simple rules. And it was made so when you come here, you sit down, and all of that. But then you have people operating this big and they simple rules. Can we ever? Do you think we can change this?
Yes, simple rules, but these simple rules is most times when people are determined to do the wrong thing, they might find it extremely difficult to obey these simple rules. And for me, it's not about obeying simple rules. It's about sanctions. If we relax or if we don't sanction people, or the system is not meant to sanction people, but to bring out people who engage in this sort of thing. Then, what happens is that other persons are encouraged, are fortified to do this
same thing
in a greater proportion. So it talks about how do we see our laws, how is the system meant to really so because you keep on, let me just you keep on each time you will see. I was talking about it. I thought about it some few days ago. Every legislative year you keep on amending our constitution. After this one, and the rest will come, they say, okay, we amend our constitution to meet up what people have invented to beat the constitution, not American. So every year, when you amend, people will find a way
to circumvent
and you also amend. So it's like the laws are pursuing the you know what I mean? So, and we keep on. After many years now, how many amendments have you got? Have you been able to? Our
constitution is actually called as amended.
As amended. And you're amending. And
yes.
As we speak today, there are also constitutional amendments going on. You know. So, and those amendments are meant to take care of actions of persons that were deliberately meant to undermine the system.
And some of those who undermine the system are still part of the process.
Are those who are making the amendment. So that is our dilemma. That is where we are. Yeah. Instead of us using letting the laws work. Somebody does this, he pays for what he has done. Then no room for then that will be great deterrent to people. But it's not working. He asks question, can we? Yes, we can, but it depends on the leadership. We need to do things right. We need to encourage our leaders to please take away all the focus if we want this nation to really make progress. There should be more commitment to do the right thing, even if my interest is not, but the interest of Nigerians should supersede any personal interest. So if we work on this, we have a better place for all of us to live. It mustn't be you, but let us have the system work. So I believe that this current leadership should be able to come to that realization and do things the right way. No matter whose us is God. Let the laws be, let the institutions work. Let them function according. Okay, last you heard about CBN printing ways and means. Contrary, why would you print ways and means? And that has put us to where we are today. Illegally. So if you cannot register, then you leave that job. But I mean, you made yourself available for such, and Nigerians are suffering. And the worst for millions of Nigerian people have died. It's a result of hardship. That's the kind of thing that we have in this kind of. So I think these things we should be. Let us decide to make things work. It is doable, but the commitment is what will make it. Is what will fire it on. We need to be committed. We need to detach ourselves, talk less of selfish interest, or group selfish interest, and talk about the general interest of the Nigerian masses. Once we start on this path, within 10, 15, 20 years, I'm certain that things will happen, on a better note.
All right. Finally, today, let's look at the visit of. I would have said the royal family, but I don't know if I'm permitted to call them the royal family anymore. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle visited Nigeria. It was actually a 72-hour tour to promote the Invictus Games. Now, this is a games that was initiated by Prince Harry, and the whole idea of it is sick and wounded serving servicemen and even retired. Right, so that's the whole essence of the thing. It started in 2014. It is said that he was in Nigeria, or they were in Nigeria, at the invitation of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Musa Christopher. Right, and so we've seen them all around the place. Nigerians are happy because Meghan actually said she's 43% Nigerian, and all of that. So there has been this one. We've seen the Chief of Defense Staff welcome them. We've seen state governors and all of that. Now, I have a confusion, and this is this is a honest confusion I do have, right? Nigeria we were colonized by the British. Unlike our Francophone neighbors who are making this conscious effort to break away from their French ties, at least on paper, because I've not really seen how they are doing that in real economic terms, because at the end of the day, it's how your economy is run. But then that's a different conversation. But Nigeria still maintains this, we are still in the Commonwealth. There is still this colony mentality amongst our leaders. I'm looking at the visit of a member of this family that is not really in good terms with the family. I mean, he has even done the unthinkable. Went to Oprah Winfrey's show and talked about his dissatisfaction with, the crown, which is something we've never seen in history. A member of those kind of families coming out, on that kind of a talk show to talk about, I have a quarrel with this. They did this to me. They did this to me. I'm not happy. Now, coming to Nigeria, do you think how is this going to benefit Nigeria? International, how is this going to benefit Nigeria?
I thank you. At least they are here at the invitation of the Chief of Defense Staff,
yes.
And basically, to interact with wounded soldiers, give them courage, encourage them and their families,
yes,
and do one or two things to also strengthen those ones. And also promote the game,
yes,
so to that extent, I think it will be beneficial, particularly to those people who needed this kind of exposure.
Yes.
The soldiers, we need to lift their spirits up, and that of their families. They need to feel that they are still part of this system.
Yeah.
When you bring such an important person to come interact with them and things like that,
it goes a long way,
because we never can tell the kind of things they are going through. And our situation here. So this kind of, to my mind, will brighten their spirit, will make them feel better, make them think better, will reconnect their psychological makeup, to begin to think that they need to live, they need to make contributions to the system. To that extent, I think that's a good move.
And that their sacrifice was actually worth it.
Yes, that's a good move by the Chief of Defense Staff. And also, Nigeria is still in the Commonwealth. Commonwealth is as a metamorphose to be union of independent nations. Most of whom were colonized by the British. So it also has its own usefulness in the system. And I think really it's not anything that is so fantastic.
Okay.
It's not anything that is what are bilateral. There are no bilateral agreements. It's not in a position to also enact such situation. To engage in any bilateral. That it's not in the position
to sign any paper, so to speak.
It's not in the position
to sign any paper.
But for the aesthetics, of it,
yes,
for the encouragement you give to those people affected, and it will boost their morale, boost their capacity, their psychological capacity to reconnect themselves to the system. As far as that is the situation, I think. But Prince Harry, you just remember no matter the squabbles.
No matter the squabbles,
he's still a member of the royal family, and him personally is not in a position to reenact or enact any meaningful or far-reaching diplomatic deal with Nigeria
that will make the family feel.
That's why he's in the Chief of Army Staff, Lagos State Governor. He's not dealing with Nigeria, he's dealing with some personnel. If it is that kind of state visit, if it's at that level, at the higher level, you should be talking with the Nigerian president and people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But of course, this is a private visit by a private person. The only difference is that he's a member of the British royal family, and for whatever it is, of course, it's going to benefit our system by the fact that those are people who are affected, who they are going to improve their life, will also, so we encourage other persons in the armed forces to look forward to such encouragement, to look forward to, okay, it means since our sacrifices are being recognized, it's not actually being disregarded. So it is like a moral boost to make them work harder, to make them to continue to show commitment to the Nigerian cause, to defend Nigeria, and also know that their labor and the sacrifices certainly will not be in vain. To that extent, I think. Otherwise, I do not see anything extraordinary with level of international engagement coming out of it.
All right, I think that's a beautiful place to leave it today. I want to thank you very much for taking time out to share your views and ideas with us today on News Review. Of course, my guest, Honorable Chugbo Enwezor, will say thank you today.
It's my pleasure.
All right, still Jude Geoman, and this is to say thank you to you for making this happen, being a part of this program till now. Same time, same station, News Review returns tomorrow. Good morning and have a beautiful day ahead.